Texas is home to the deadliest natural disaster in United States history. In a single night, one storm killed an estimated 8,000 people, far more than Hurricane Katrina and the 1906 San Francisco earthquake combined. And it happened in what was, at the time, one of the wealthiest and most powerful cities in the state. But the real horror isn't just the death toll. It's that the government had been warned a seawall was needed, but that warning was ignored, partly because the local Weather Bureau chief publicly downplayed the risk. This wasn't just bad luck, and it wasn't a one-time thing. When you map the state's most destructive disasters, you start to see a terrifying pattern. A hidden geological fault line slices right through the heart of Texas, creating a perfect engine for catastrophe. The state's geography is practically designed to amplify extreme weather. Warm, wet air from the Gulf of Mexico funnels directly into a corridor, where it collides with cold, dry air from the Rockies, all along this geological tripwire. It's not a coincidence. It's a trap, and millions of people live right inside of it. Let's look at the 5 storms that prove it. We're digging into the wild details you won't find in any textbook, so if that's the kind of content you appreciate, make sure you're subscribed. You won't want to miss this. 1. The Betrayal of Galveston, 1900. In 1900, Galveston was called the Wall Street of the Southwest, a jewel of a city built on a low-lying barrier island. Its highest point was only about 9 feet above sea level, but the man in charge of the local U.S. Weather Bureau, Isaac Klein, publicly argued that the idea of a major hurricane doing serious damage to Galveston was essentially impossible. He reasoned that the Gulf's shallow waters would buffer the island from any massive storm surge. His influential position and public confidence were major factors in sidelining any serious talk of building a protective seawall. He was wrong, fatally wrong. On September 8, 1900, a monster hurricane, what we'd now call a Category 4, slammed the island, with winds estimated around 140 miles per hour. But it wasn't the wind that did the most killing. It was the water. A storm surge, estimated at around 15 feet high, simply washed over the island. The water didn't just flood the city, it erased it. By dawn, more than 3,600 homes were gone. The exact death toll will never be known, but estimates range from 6,000 to as high as 12,000 people. 8,000 is the most commonly cited number, making it the deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. Klein himself survived by clinging to debris, but his pregnant wife was among the thousands lost. In response, the city did the unthinkable. They built a massive 17-foot seawall and physically raised the elevation of the entire city in an engineering marvel born from absolute horror. But Galveston taught Texas a lesson written in water and blood. A lesson it would have to learn again and again. 2. The Monster of Waco, 1953. If Galveston taught Texas about water, Waco taught it about wind. On May 11, 1953, the forecast was for scattered thunderstorms. But what arrived downtown at 4:36 p.m., just as people were heading home from work, was a monster, an F5 tornado, a rating applied after the fact, but a testament to its power, tore through the heart of the city. But this wasn't just any tornado. It was about 1/3 of a mile wide and wrapped in such heavy, blinding rain that it was almost impossible to see coming. With winds likely topping 260 miles per hour, it drove directly through downtown. People on the street rushed into buildings for shelter, but many of the older brick buildings weren't built to withstand that kind of force. They collapsed almost instantly. The 6-story R.T. Dennis furniture store crumbled in seconds, killing 30 people huddled inside. Bricks from collapsed buildings piled up 5 feet deep in the streets. Rescuers worked for days, even finding survivors who had been trapped for over 14 hours in the rubble. In total, 114 people died, making it the deadliest single tornado in Texas history. One of the only things that truly stood its ground was the new 22-story Alico building. It was built with a steel-reinforced frame, and while the tornado tore its facade off like paper, the structure held. It became a symbol of survival, but the storm was a brutal confirmation. The same atmospheric collisions that fuel hurricanes could also spawn the most violent tornadoes on Earth. 3. The unnatural horror of Jarrell, 1997. 44 years later, Texas witnessed a tornado that seemed to defy the laws of physics. On May 27, 1997, an outbreak of tornadoes swept through central Texas. Most tornadoes move at a pretty brisk pace, anywhere from 30 to 50 miles per hour. The Jarrell Tornado, however, crept along at just a few miles per hour. It essentially ground itself over the Double Creek Estate subdivision. What it did is the stuff of nightmares. This F5 tornado didn't just destroy homes, it obliterated them. It granulated entire houses into unrecognizable dust. It scoured the ground, stripping away grass, pavement, and in some places, up to 18 inches of soil, leaving only bare earth. 38 homes were swept from their concrete slab foundations, which were then wiped clean. The force was so extreme, it ripped plumbing and pipes out from under the concrete. For first responders, there was almost nothing left to sift through. They found debris from Jarrell in the next county over. 27 people died in that subdivision alone. The devastation was so complete, it sparked discussions among meteorologists about the very limits of the F-scale. Jarrell proved that Texas tornadoes didn't just have to be fast. They could be slow, methodical, and act like a grinder on the face of the earth. It's a chilling piece of history. If you're finding this list of storms interesting, take a moment to hit the subscribe and like button. It is the single biggest thing you can do to help this channel reach more people just like you that love stories about this great state of Texas. Now, back to the list. 4. The unprecedented stall of Hurricane Harvey, 2017. That terrifying ability for a storm to just stop showed up again in 2017, but this time, it was a hurricane. After making landfall as a powerful Category 4, Hurricane Harvey essentially stalled over southeast Texas for 4 agonizing days. The result was a rainfall of biblical proportions. The storm became a fire hose, pulling a seemingly endless supply of moisture from the warm Gulf of Mexico and dumping it on one area. A weather station near Nederland, Texas, recorded a staggering 60.58 inches of rain. That's 5 feet of water, from a single storm. It completely shattered the previous U.S. record for tropical cyclone rainfall. The problem wasn't just the record rainfall, but where it fell. It inundated Houston, America's 4th largest city. Hundreds of thousands of homes were flooded. The damage cost was an estimated $125 billion, putting it in the same devastating league as Hurricane Katrina, as one of the costliest hurricanes in U.S. history. Harvey proved that the modern infrastructure of a major American city was no match for a storm that refused to move. The infrastructure wasn't just broken, the assumptions were broken. Houston was a city designed for a climate that no longer exists. 5. The geological reveal of San Antonio, 1921. The final piece of the puzzle is hidden in plain sight, right in the heart of San Antonio. On September 9, 1921, the remnants of a hurricane that hit Mexico moved north and stalled. It stalled directly over a unique geological feature, the Balcones Escarpment. This escarpment is a ramp of hills that cuts across Texas, acting as a natural tripwire for moisture moving in from the Gulf. This orographic lift forces moist air to rise, cool, and condense into torrential rain. In 1921, the effect was catastrophic. The storm dumped over 15 inches of rain into the hills just north of San Antonio in a little over a day. That water had to go somewhere. It all funneled into the San Antonio River. Through the night, the river rose at a terrifying pace, cresting more than 20 feet above its normal banks downtown. It created a wall of water that swept through the city's west side, killing at least 80 people and devastating the community. In the aftermath, the city completely re-engineered its river, building the Olmos Dam to control floods, and digging a bypass channel to protect the downtown core. Millions of tourists know that bypass channel today. They call it the San Antonio Riverwalk. Most people who walk along its beautiful banks have no idea they are walking through the ghost of a disaster, a landmark created because Texas's fundamental geology turned a rainstorm into a killer flood. Texas isn't just unlucky. Its geography makes it a natural disaster death trap. The pieces are all there, working in perfect, terrible concert. You have the warm Gulf of Mexico, acting as an infinite fuel source. The flat plains of North Texas serve as a bowling alley for colliding air masses, spawning violent tornadoes. And slicing through it all is the Balcones Fault Zone, a geological scar that can trip a storm and turn it from a bad day into a historic catastrophe. From the saltwater surge that erased Galveston, to the stalled rain that drowned Houston, from the wind that shattered Waco, to the flood that carved the San Antonio Riverwalk, the pattern is undeniable. The geography is the engine, and that engine is running hotter than ever. The I-35 corridor, which runs right along this fault line, is one of the fastest-growing regions in the entire country. Millions of people already live there, and more homes and infrastructure are being packed directly into the kill box every year. So the question is not if the next great storm will hit Texas, the question is when, and how many people will be standing in its way. If you want to see more stories like this one, tell me in the comments, and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss the next one. Thanks, and be safe out there.